Hi there, welcome to Caroline Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Libra energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Libra energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy. We all have our dualistic nature of free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And in our high vibe nature, we are, or would like to, maybe get more balance within ourselves, heal, grow, mature, love ourselves, something, detach from the past, whatever it could be, whatever it is that manipulates us. But the bottom row can kind of represent the things that manipulate us. And that can represent um, stepping out of our comfort zone. We all like to stay in our comfort zone. We have different people we can hang out with in our life, and we could have some people in our life that we could enjoy, but maybe they kind of align with our more shadowy nature. And, if we weren't going to keep hanging out with them, we'd probably have to figure out why we indulge in certain behaviors or ways of living life or viewing life. And we'd have to choose to align with our more high vibe nature and more high vibe people, maybe, and all that can be difficult. And the bottom row can just represent our own fears and insecurities. So, in the bottom row, the reason for the reading is the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. In high vibe, the Seven of Swords, the Five, the Six, and the Seven of Swords are all about I have a dream. But some people have a hard time listening to their intuition, which is the Two of Swords, which is Libra energy. Kind of like, should I do this? Should I do that? The Two of Swords can be where people, they just don't know what their truth is yet. you know, we have free will to either kind of build our life more, having hope and faith and belief and love and in ourselves and in others, or we can be tempted to make our life more about ourselves, more about the world, indulging in things to make us feel better. And some people, we've all been there. Life is all about going on this journey to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And some people could have more of a hard time right now listening to their intuition. Other people are. And the people who do listen to their intuition, because the only card showing itself here on the bottom row is the Three of Swords, which is Libra energy. We could feel like things do maybe seem just and fair in a lot of ways, but there could be something about it that causes us mental conflict, which is what the Seven of Swords is about. Still not sure, like, is this my truth? Isn't this my truth? Um, Kind of like if a person was at a job, am I going to get justice in this job if I keep staying here? Are the people I'm working with kind of more just and fair? Are they not? So in shadow, the Three of Swords can be that other people that we could be dealing with, they were in the Two of Swords, and then they made a decision that there might be some things they don't want to see the truth of, and you could know that there's things that manipulate them, and they might not want to see the truth of it. And um, whether that's their past pain and heartbreak, their fear, their insecurity, their egoic nature, the world, other people in their life. We can't make other people see the truth until they're ready to see the truth. You could tell someone, I think this kind of really manipulates you and it kind of keeps you out of balance. And they'd be like, no, it doesn't. I think those people kind of manipulate you. No, they don't. I mean, we've all lived our life in a way that was kind of out of balance at different times. And if we had people in our life saying, I don't really think that this, your dreams are going to come into reality if you keep doing this. And it's like, well, I think it's just and fair. I'm okay. I'm good where I'm at. And, that's the truth. Some people are good where they're at. We can all live our life at a phase of life and we think it's just and fair. That's how we think. It's how we feel. It's how we view ourselves, how we view the world, and we'll all kind of live our life at a certain stage of life, just like we were 15 and 18 and 21 and 25. When it starts to cause us mental conflict is when we'll start to wonder, wait a minute, do I want to keep living my life like this? Or am I ready to move forward? And we can be ready to move forward in life a little differently. because we're having mental conflict about continuing to live our life a certain way or repeating an old pattern. And it's kind of like, I'm ready to move forward a little bit differently. And sometimes we have people in our life where they may never want to live life differently. And that's fine. They can live their life the way they want. But shadowy energy can be where it stays stuck and stagnant, and people never work through their mental conflict. And the difference between the Three of Swords and the Seven of Swords is the Four of Swords, which is Libra energy, which is kind of meditating on the truth about why, like, we don't move forward in life a little differently. What are the things that manipulate us? Is it our past pain and heartbreak? Is it because we get caught up in our head, is what the Seven of Swords can be. High vibe Seven of Swords of Aquarius can be, do I look at life from a higher perspective? Am I able to keep things in perspective? Do I believe I can heal? Do I believe other people can heal? Um, do I think there's a higher purpose to life than just what the world tells me I should make my life about? Do I believe in myself? Do I believe in my dreams? And some people don't, and some people would require them to speak the truth or get more balanced. And some people don't want to be more just and fair. They might like being deceptive and manipulative in a relationship, might like to live more from their mind than their heart. High vibe energy is becoming independent of things that manipulate you and independent of your more worldly, egoic, defensive, shadowy, immature, past pain and heartbreak, whatever it is. I want to be free of it. And I know I have to see the truth of it, kind of make peace with it, that it is what it is. I can only change me. I can heal and grow and mature myself, but I can't heal and grow and mature other people. I can only deal with, uh, if I want to align with truth and love and emotional maturity and self discipline, I can't make other people do that. So, right now, there could be some people who are heartbroken, maybe because they were deceptive and manipulative. Sometimes, you know, people don't want to tell people what it is that hurts them or what bothered them or things in their past or how things manipulate them. And then instead of telling the truth, that's kind of like high vibe energy, being open and authentic and loving. And some people have a problem being more open, authentic, and loving because shadowy energy can be that people decided I am going to operate more from my emotionally defensive nature. I could align with my high vibe nature that has hope and faith and belief and love, but I'd have to heal from these things that had made me not choose that. And then when I don't choose that, shadowy energy can be that people try to maybe confuse people about the truth of who they are, try to stop other people from listening to their intuition, um, maybe are kind of deceptive and manipulative. And for some people, that is how they operate in the world. It's like a strategy. I don't really want to be more just or fair or authentic or loving. I want to be in a relationship. I want the things in justice that other people have, but they just haven't been illuminated to the truth. It's, if you're going to be in a romantic relationship with someone, it should be because of love. But some people don't want to do love because you get hurt doing love. And then they think, no, no, I can just live more from my mind than my heart. I'll create the illusion I'm loving. And I might have things that get me all up in my head, maybe my fear, maybe my insecurity, but I'll just bury all that underneath the surface and I'll wear a good false mask and try to present myself as more healed or grown or mature than I am, but they're not. And event they get in relationships with people and eventually, or get a job, and eventually the people they're in a relationship with or working with, kind of start to see that, they maybe don't work well together with others in a more just and fair and balanced way. That maybe they are kind of deceptive and manipulative or kind of prideful and egotistical or immature. And then those people don't want to keep working with them. And then they can be sad, but they still don't want to see the truth of where they could maybe benefit from working through some issues and detaching from some more shadowy ways of being. But anybody can choose to want to stay in denial of the truth, and some people do, and they'll maybe do it all their life. So I think everybody has been in relationships with some people who at one time we could have viewed as being more just and fair and stable and balanced and loving, and maybe for a long time they were. But then, there's no guarantee when people start to get up in their head, or lust or greed or pride or ego or whatever, and they kind of drift their life off into the ditch. And then it's like, wait a minute, kind of what you think is just and fair, I don't think is just and fair. And now it kind of seems like we're not on the same page. And I kind of feel like my dream can't come into reality here, because your idea of the dream life and my idea of the dream life, I want it to be based on truth and love and justice and fairness, where we all heal and grow and mature ourselves. And the other person's like, well, no, but I want to come with, but you just indulged me in my poor behavior. And the other people are like, no, I might have done that for a while. In the Seven of Swords, the person is holding the five swords. I have a dream. Other people keep holding on to their mental conflict or wanting to win at all costs. It's supposed to be all about them. So, what could some shadowy people, I think people right now who are kind of in some shadowy energy could be hiding that they had more just, fair, loving people in their life. But because they maybe weren't just or fair or open or authentic or loving, or being deceptive or manipulative in some way, wearing a false mask, those people aren't in their life anymore. So then they get the idea, I don't want to see the truth, so I'm just going to go maybe find someone else who's heartbroken, and I'll see if I can go deceive and manipulate that person because they don't know the truth of who I am yet. And then they hide that they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. And some of them even play the victim. Oh, and get in a relationship with someone, and then it's like, oh, I'm really worried about being more authentic or loving or bringing a dream into reality because a different relationship didn't work out. But it really could be because they just want to indulge in the relationship. And as long as the other people are willing to indulge them, they'll keep staying in it. As long as it works for them, so long. The Aquarius star, also represented by star card, it's like, as long as this looks good for my ego and my image, so long as it looks like I've moved on, so long as people are caught up in the illusion of who I am, this works for me. But if you ever start to heal from your own past pain and heartbreak, or your own self-limiting beliefs, and you want to start moving forward in life differently, yeah, no, you can go. I'll go find someone else to get in a relationship with. So, what are these cards? We have the Page of Wands, the Five of Pentacles, the Six of Swords, which is also Aquarius energy, and the Eight of Pentacles. So, the truth can be, and what some people's truth is, I am more about me, or I am more motivated and inspired by the world. With the Page of Wands and the Five of Pentacles, that can mean I am more inspired by the world. The ego, the image, the status, that is the foundation. Taurus, the Five of Pentacles, can be the foundation we operate from, our philosophy of life. And in people's free will, they can decide, I could work either in a more balanced way. I do have these things of the world I want, but I also want loving, authentic relationships. And some people decide, well, if I was going to do loving and authentic relationships, I'd have to be more emotionally mature and come out from behind my ego. And I might not even want to do that. I prefer to live more from my mind than my heart, my more self protective nature. Or I think what will make me happy is either to be in a relationship where it's more about me, or it's more about these things of the world. That's what I think is the most important thing. And so they could be people who really don't even like to connect in with their more emotionally intuitive, creative, loving, emotional nature. They kind of left harnessing this in a high vibe way, they left behind. No, I've decided I'm going to, in my Virgo energy of the Eight of Pentacles, my long term goal is to put in work and effort to look like a shining star in the world. Then I will look like I have justice in the world. Other people will view me maybe as a shining star in the world. People will maybe look up to me and admire me. And for some people, from an ego nature, that is what's most important. Finding maybe someone to work together with them, but someone else who's maybe decided to get in a relationship, stay in a relationship, be in a relationship, either making it more about them. Shadowy Aquarius, I want to be the center of attention. Everyone else should put aside their pride and ego, but not me. And some people could think if they put a lot of work and effort to look like a shining star in some way, their looks, their body, their charm, their money, their status, their power, male or female, that then they could think I should be the more indulged person in the relationship. I have more of those things that people want in the world. So therefore, it should be more about me. And anybody can harness a shadowy Page of Wands, Taurus, Aquarius, Virgo, Libra, no matter what zodiac sign they are. We all tap into the zodiac signs, and it just depends on if we harness it a little bit from a more worldly, shadowy perspective or a more high vibrational perspective. You know, another way this could be read, which is like, part of the story, is when we were young, we could have been more hopeful and believing in our dreams. And we could have moved forward in the Five of Pentacles with some people that we worked with. And then we were heartbroken. And it didn't work out the way we wanted. And for some people, it kind of made them give up on believing in themselves and believing in their dreams. So then it's like, nope, I'm not doing that anymore. I've decided from now on, I'm going to align with my self-protective nature, and I'm going to either indulge in more of these things of the world to make myself feel better, get in a relationship to feel better, but I'm not going to do love anymore. Now it's like a strategy of self-protection. And I'll just go find other people. And, they could be kind of loving, nurturing people to a degree, and they could go look for other people who are heartbroken so that those people appreciate them. But the problem is, it's kind of like getting in a codependent relationship. I like to view myself as a loving, nurturing person. You're sad. I will be loving and nurturing to you. You view me as a loving, nurturing person. And so the relationship can work out for a long time until the people they get in a relationship with start to heal. And then those people are kind of wanting to take the relationship to the next level where they have to also heal. And that's when the relationship can end, because they don't want to deal with their own issues, but like getting in a relationship where, oh, well, you have to change. Oh, yeah, you got some of these issues, and I'm willing to be a loving, nurturing person. And maybe even while you are hurt, got mental conflict, might have some issues of whatever way you act in the world, they, in contrast, can feel like, you know, shadowy energy can be like, look what a martyr I am. Look what a stable, loving person I am. I know, look at what they're doing. I know, but, I love them. And, you know, it's this way of feeling like they're this loving, nurturing person by just getting in a relationship with someone who, by default of just who they are, it makes them seem so, and indeed, they could be a more stable, grounded, kind of more loving, nurturing person than the other person. But it only lasts as long as the other people don't heal. From the 4 to the 7, taking back the 4 swords. I did heal. I am ready to move forward. And that's when they're like, oh, damn, you healed. Oh, well, shit. No, I don't want to do that. Because then I would have to heal. Or, oh shit, you got more balance within yourself. I liked it when it was the bottom row is that it's shadowy, so it's kind of imbalanced. Well, I liked it when it was imbalanced. Now that, you've done work within yourself and you kind of healed and grew and matured yourself in some way, well, now you want a more balanced relationship. I don't like a more balanced relationship. I like it when you're like the child and I'm like the parent, or I seem like the more mature person and you seem like the more immature person. If I had wanted to be in a relationship with someone who was more healed, I would have gotten in a relationship with someone who was more healed. If I wanted a more just and fair relationship, I would have gotten in a more just and fair relationship, you know? And I think all people in the world can kind of go through that. I think loving people can do that too. And part of it can be because well, I just think their intention isn't that they don't want people to heal. I think the high vibe people really do want people to heal. They're excited about it moving forward in a more balanced, just, and fair way. But, and that's why sometimes you can be drawn and attracted and get in a relationship with someone and stay in a relationship with them, because it does seem like you're in a relationship with someone who's loving and encouraging and wanting you to heal and grow and mature yourself. But if they're the one who seems more stable, grounded, and mature in a way, and you do that work, then they don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore, because I guess they maybe didn't think you would, or not to the degree that you did, and they didn't think you would really have more hope and faith and belief in yourself and look at life from a higher perspective. And then they don't look at life from a higher perspective, or they would have been happy if you healed. But can you still make life more about either me, or stay in the relationship more for the ego, the image, or the status? I was like, well, I thought we were doing love. Well, no, not really. I kind of like it for the ego and the image and the status, or, and then you kind of find out that their truth of what ultimately drives and motivates them is different. So they're hiding that they had been in a relationship with people who are more inspired to move forward in truth and love. They harness their Aquarius energy different, their Taurus philosophy of life, their Virgo philosophy in high vibe is, I am willing to put in work and effort within myself to shed light on the things that manipulate me and my past pain and heartbreak, and to love and believe in myself and look at life from a higher perspective. And in their fire sign energy, which I think initially all of us in our fire sign energy of self, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in these things of the world, all the different things we want to go indulge in, all the things that are part of our dream that we want to manifest. And it maybe isn't till we're older in life that in our fire sign energy, those things of the world, probably because we have manifested a lot of those things, we're kind of ready for the next chapter. And then life is about the next phase, which when we were younger, we didn't even know what that would be. There's not a lot of kind of a conversation about that in the world, about like, well, what are you going to do after you get married and after you've had your kids, or something like that? Or once you've, gotten successful or feel accomplished in your career field, what next? It's like, oh, I don't know. I never thought about that, because we don't talk about that a lot. And then one person can be ready to go to the next chapter of life, and the other person's like, well, I just thought we were going to keep doing this. I thought we were going to keep in our more worldly philosophy of life. That is how, what I think is most important. And other people are like, I think there's more to life than just making our life about ourselves or what we indulge in, or status, ego, and image. In high vibe, it would be um, being inspired to like live your more authentic life instead of letting your kind of ego nature run your life. Um, get more comfortable within yourself, to feel more comfortable within yourself, so you're not hiding behind your ego, and kind of seeing through the illusion of some of these things of the world, that how we could define our worth and value, that high vibe. And there too, as we go through life, um we don't even know what some things interest us and that we would enjoy. until we have lived enough life and had enough experience with things, it's like, there could be people who go to some painting class or a mechanics class or whatever it could be. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I didn't even think this would be something that I find interesting. And then they could really want to invest some time, energy, and effort into that and kind of realize it's kind of aligned with their truth, and it really maybe inspires them or makes them look at life differently from a different perspective than they did before. And it's maybe their unique thing that they didn't even know was something they would enjoy. And then other people cannot like it because you do want to put work and effort into something, that's different than what you're putting work and effort into before. That could be kind of part of your dreams. Sometimes shadowy energy can be jealousy and envy. Well, if you used to make your life more about maybe supporting me in my dream, and now you seem to be more interested in putting work and effort into your dream, well, I don't like that. you know? Anyway, everybody can be kind of heartbroken because for different reasons, everybody could have wanted to stay in it. But if someone's dream is to be in it and stay in it more for these reasons of the world than love, and maybe the relationship isn't growing and maturing, becoming more deep, meaningful over time, that can be when you kind of feel like, again, shadowy fire sign energy can be that you feel like people are just kind of indulging themselves in the relationship, and it's never going to become a more deep, meaningful relationship. And so, just like some of you could have gotten out of some jobs, friendships, and relationships with some people that over time things weren't going right, how you wanted to move forward seemed different, or you thought people were kind of immature or hurtful or unkind or egotistical or something. Just like you listen to your intuition, and for a long time you could have not listened to it and had a struggle listening to it, but eventually you did. Other people in the world can be going through that. And for the people who keep not willing to deal with the truth, whether they're just in friendships, romantic relationships, or they work with other people, the problem keeps happening over and over and over. But again, they keep not wanting to see the truth. It's like I worked somewhere where there's a really immature supervisor who was like 45. Um, and they made it like miserable, right? And so, but upper management was codependent on that person. Like, oh no, we need them here. And, felt like, what would they do if that person wasn't there? Well, so they have all these people who come to work there and then they leave. It's like, when do you start to see the clue that you've had good employees who put in work and effort, worked with people cooperatively in a just and fair way, but because there's someone who's shadowy there, even though don't want to leave, they leave. And until kind of the management is willing to see the truth, and then the other way can be where there are people who are kind of, an employer hired them, and the people are kind of being like to maybe not act like they put in work and effort, but not really. And if they can get other people to do the work and kind of be lazy, and they hope that the employer won't fire them because they think they're cheating the justice system and being able to get away with being immature, other employers are starting to listen to their intuition. And it's like they're going to tell them, I'm sorry, but, we don't want to work with you anymore. We're going to work with other people. It just, it's just whoever is the one who has to make a decision. And, the shadowy people in their own life have to decide things might not be working out for me the way I want. But if they're unwilling to temper their immature egoic nature or hurt nature or defensive nature, their shadow nature is going to keep running their life. If they don't see that other people in their life manipulate them, those people are going to keep manipulating them. Other people can see the truth of it. Other people, though they're sad, they're leaving. So, what's going on in the top row? The reason for the top row's reading is the Wheel of Fortune, which is kind of represented by all the fixed signs. In our fixed sign energies, it's kind of like the different air, water, worldly, and fire sign energies. We kind of have the ones that initiate things. It's our fixed sign energies, kind of those four aspects that we tap into when we're in the midst of something. And then it's kind of our Virgo energy is one of them that helps us transition out of things. But in order to transition out, we'd have to be willing to put in the work and effort to figure out what is working, what isn't working, what is in alignment with my truth now, what is no longer in alignment with my truth now, what my dreams are, what my dreams aren't, how I do want to live my life, how I don't want to live my life. And they're willing to go with the flow, that when their intuition tells them, which I think our intuition was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world. The high vibe people listen to their intuition, and even though it can be hard, they don't ignore their intuition. You know, we're part of the animal kingdom. All the other animals have their unique things, but we have free will. We can think we're so smart, and pride comes before the fall. That sometimes we don't listen to our intuition, even though all the signs are there that we should move away from this. We shouldn't do this. That we get ourselves invested in things, and then we hope, in our fixed sign energy, we can put a lot of work and effort trying to make something work. And for a long time, we can stay in denial. I'm not the only one. If it's me in my life, I am the only one, because I'm the only one who can change me and grow and heal and mature myself. But if I'm working with other people, those people also have to be willing to put in work and effort for the common goal. And if that's not their goal or what drives and motivates them or their truth, it's going to keep having this conflict. So some people decide to go with the flow, listen to their intuition. My intuition is telling me if I keep working or living my life this way or feeling this way or thinking this way, or, just like we're meant to master our mind and our emotions, our thoughts, and our being emotionally complex human beings, it's confusing. Well, am I going to keep letting my mind and my fear and all those things keep running my life? Am I going to keep letting my emotions overwhelm me? I have to get balance within myself. I have to learn to offset my own fears and insecurities and love and believe in myself. And so some people decided to look at life from a higher perspective, put things in perspective. I have a dream. This is not moving forward in that way. And high vibe people probably offered truth and love to people, and that wasn't those people's truth. So eventually they left. And then we have the Four of Wands, the Five of Cups, the Nine of Wands, and the King of Pentacles. So the Four of Wands is Aries energy, which is about the self. So, and the Four of Wands can also be people we had come together with in a foundation, whether that's a workplace, a family dynamic, a relationship, friend group, whatever. And the Five of Cups can talk about that we're sad, that something didn't work out, that people didn't work together with us cooperatively. And but the Nine of Wands, the difference between the Four of Wands and the Nine of Wands is the Five of Wands, which is Leo energy, which in shadow can be competitive energy, prideful energy, shadowy energy of some sort. And high vibe people get inspired within themselves to work through their own regrets of the past and sadness that some of the things they wish they had worked out. And if they were the ones at one point in time that didn't listen to their intuition and other people moved ahead of them, in life and moved on. They kept repeating a pattern. And then when they were kind of ready to kind of deal with the truth, they dealt with the truth. And then they could be sad too that, gee, I wish I'd seen the truth earlier, you know? And, but if it was you realizing I'm repeating an old pattern, which we definitely could have been, and I don't want to repeat that old pattern. I could be in relationships with people who are kind of repeating an old pattern. I've been there, I've done that. I don't want to do that anymore. They get inspired within themselves to work through it. So the five of wands between these two cards, it's as if this card also represents the five of wands. This is the five of cups. The fives talk about change. I can be sad a relationship didn't work out. I could kind of be sad that I changed. I could be sad that other people changed. Um, but when we have changed and we have worked through some issues that we're not the same person that we were before, it's kind of hard to, if you've been enlightened to a truth or a different way of feeling about yourself that's more just and fair and balanced, a different perspective on life and relationships and what you think is just and fair, maybe, um, you can't unsee it. You can't shove you back into the old person that you were. You're not that person anymore. And whether you changed or other people changed, you can be sad about it and you can have inner conflict about it. But again, the five of wands comes after the four of wands. I am inspired within myself to not want to repeat that old pattern. There was something about it that I didn't think was just and fair or wasn't aligned with my truth, or the other person had a different truth or something. Whatever it is, I am inspired within myself to work through my inner conflict of it and being in my ego about it. Because if I keep staying in my ego, I could keep staying heartbroken and confused. I want to get to the truth. And sometimes, you know, it's just kind of looking at it that if people wanted to work together in a more just and fair way, they would have. If people wanted to act with more character and integrity, they would have. If people were motivated to be less self indulgent or egotistical or hurtful or unkind or whatever, or immature, self indulgent, they would be. And some people weren't. And it doesn't matter how loving, giving, nurturing, and supportive you are. There's going to be some people that is like, hey, you be that way. That's not how I'm going to be. But so long as you have mental conflict about leaving, hey, I'll keep staying in the relationship and I'll keep being whatever way I am until you're willing to see the truth. I'm not ever going to change, maybe. I'm never going to deal with some issues that have made me decide to be the way I'm going to be. And until you see the truth that, we're going to do it more my way because I'm not going to do it your way. And unless you're willing to stand up for your truth and leave and go find people who are more on the same page as you, then I guess we're going to keep moving forward this way. So whether people are saying it or not, just by their actions, they're kind of standing up for their truth. And in the Nine of Wands, we have to stand up for ours. And uh, for some people, that life experience could have been all about getting you to stand up for yourself. We can sometimes look at situations in our life like, why'd that happen? Why'd I have to go through that? And part of it could have been, well, you could have had a lot of lessons learned. So you went, the difference between one wand, if you were to look at every wand or every sword or every pentacle as different life lessons that you've learned, you had a lot of life lessons to learn. You had to come in contact with a lot of different people in the world to get to know them, to see how they viewed life, what they thought was just and fair, what their dreams were, to help you maybe get more clear about what yours were. And then, you know, the Four of Wands comes after the Three of Wands, which can be I have a dream. But again, when we're younger, we can definitely think we have to work with these things of the world. We're a more codependent energy because we might not quite believe in ourselves that I can bring my dreams into reality if I work through my own regrets of the past so that those things don't manipulate me and stand up for myself and what I believe in and, grow, heal, mature myself, invest in myself. And I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy, and shadowy Capricorn is the devil. All these are more immature worldly nature of fear and insecurity and pride and ego and lust and greed and want reward without effort and all these things that we think are the answer that are going to make us happy. And we had to go on that journey to find out what did make us happy, what didn't make us happy, see the truth of what didn't, quit indulging in it, even if it kind of made us happy, if it was stopping us from growing and healing and maturing ourselves, and causing conflict and confusion in our life. It's like, nope, that's got to go. Within myself, I need to work through my regrets of the past, get out of my ego about the past. Just like I offer myself love and compassion and forgiveness, I offer it to other people in my life. I accept that they are where they were at. They viewed life the way they viewed it. They acted the way they acted because of where they were at. But I'm not going to let that keep me feeling rejected and out in the cold and heartbroken. I made the decision that I'm going to put in work and effort to work through those things and heal. I'm not going to give up my dreams. There's always going to be shadowy people in the world that are going to be hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair and bossy and controlling and deceptive and manipulative and unkind, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to take all those lessons that I've learned, kind of Virgo energy of the Knight of Pentacles. This is the 8, but it wants to become the King of Pentacles. I want to take all the lessons that I've learned with me and stand up for myself and my truth. The one pentacle can be truth and love. And if I am more aligned with truth and love and justice and fairness, I need to stand up for myself. Because there's a lot of immature people in the world who'd like to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with me if I still don't want to listen to my intuition for one, and still have mental conflict and kind of caught up, you know. Instead, I stand up for myself and I can get to know people to find out what their truth is. And if I find out their truth is, oh, you're kind of more immature, oh, it's more about indulging or the ego or the image or you, no. And there could be some people in your life who would like to be in a relationship with you, but because you're standing up for yourself and you're investing in your truth, the kings can talk about how you're presenting yourself in the world and the action that you're taking. And in high vibe, you're inspired by truth and love. So those are the actions that you're taking. And you're taking action in truth and love. If you were to take some action more out of fear and insecurity and pride and ego and lust and greed and codependency, some of those people would be right on over. I'll work with you. I want to be in a relationship with you. But if you keep listening to your intuition, people who are motivated and inspired by the same dream that you have, if you know them, and I would assume high vibe people have communicated their truth to people, those people would be working with you. But some of those people don't want to work with you so long as you're standing up for yourself and standing up for truth and love and justice and fairness and emotional maturity. But if you ever seem to be like, well, I don't know, maybe, yeah, then you could have a bunch of people that would want to be rushing in. You could know if you went and hung out in certain places in your local town and you seem to be all, I don't know, I just want to feel better and whatever. There'd probably be a whole bunch of people who'd be like, hey, I'll hang out with you tonight. you know? And it's like, why would I want to repeat that old pattern? You know, the Five of Cups is Scorpio energy. We're emotionally complex human beings. Uh, and because of these life experiences, we know how hard it is to get out of things. And if you are someone who invests in people emotionally, it's hard to disentangle yourself. So it's like, no, I don't even want to get myself emotionally entangled in some people who aren't the people for me to be in a relationship with. You know, if I'm gonna stand up for the people in my life who do treat me in a just and fair and emotionally mature manner, and as I move forward, I'm sure I'll meet more people, but I'm gonna quit investing more of my time, energy, and effort into people in my life who show me that they haven't healed and they don't know how to treat people in a more just and fair way. And there could be some high vibe people too that are sad that would like to maybe be in a relationship with you, but some of them could be in their own relationship. Um, some of them got in relationships because, instead of standing up for themselves and believing in themselves, and now they could be in relationships with other people, but maybe when they got into it, it wasn't such a good idea. Some people who are more shadowy again try to present themselves as more high vibe. They never deal with their regrets of the past. They try to present themselves, creating this illusion that they're this more just, fair, stable, grounded person or whatever in relationships and friendships they're in. But it's all an illusion. It is more driven and motivated by these other reasons. And everybody has the free will to get in relationships and stay in relationships for whatever reason they want. And some people, I don't have, I might get in a relationship or even a job that could look victorious and successful and have a lot of stability and security, but I might not like it, but I might stay in it anyway for those reasons. And other people are like, we've all got to do it. We got to do it certain times in our life. Like, you can't just, there aren't other jobs available, for example. Well, I might have to stay in a job I don't like for a while, but boy, if the job market opens back up, I'm going to be looking for a new job to get out of here. And I think relationship wise, um, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, you've got to work through it. I don't think it's a good idea necessarily to get out of a relationship because someone else came along, necessarily because you might not have dealt with the issues within yourself that you might be going from one bad situation to another bad situation, but you don't even realize it and maybe get deceived and manipulated again. I think it's kind of better to, if you know it's not right, get out and do the work within yourself. But when we're younger, again, we can really want to be in a relationship to make us feel better. And as part of the life experience of kind of learning to do that within yourself. But, when we're younger, we definitely might kind of more relationship hop, but then we can get in another relationship that, we weren't really ready to be in, had to maybe even work through some of our regrets of the past. Some people did that, and then they think, oh no, because of whatever, um, I'm ready to move on. And then they get in another relationship and are defensive to moving forward in that relationship because, again, they didn't really work through the other issues. Other people are wanting to work through those issues so that when they go get in a new relationship, that other relationship, I've come to a place of peace. I don't view that person anymore as someone my dream can come into reality with, and I accept the truth of that, and I am ready to be in a new relationship. So, what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Libra energy? You're harnessing high vibe Aries, high vibe Scorpio, wanting to be in deep, meaningful relationships, not more superficial, shallow relationships. And you're inspired to go close out an old chapter, put that behind you where I don't want to think, act, or behave like that anymore. I am ready to kind of grow and mature myself and be more mature in some way. And That can mean at work, the King of Pentacles, but the King and Queen of Pentacles also is only married through the deck. So maybe some people before who thought, no, I don't want to be in a more formal commitment. Some people would be willing to be in a more formal commitment where before they were kind of indulging themselves in the world, thinking they'd be happy, but it didn't quite turn out the way they wanted. Probably gotten a lot of other people who were happy they felt that way because they kind of just were willing to be in a relationship with them for how it benefited them. Um, you know, if you want to be in relationships with people who are more inspired by truth and love, then you've got to realize I can't kind of be two-faced, like, oh yeah, that's who I am, but oh, by the way, either I don't want to be really more invested and authentic and loving, or create the illusion I'm willing to get in a more formal commitment, but I'm not. People are going to end up leaving the relationship. What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Emperor. Why? Because of the Tower. The Tower can talk about detaching from an old foundation, an old way of living life, an old way of viewing life. And when you detach from aligning with that within yourself, you can always move away from people, but then you have to do this work within yourself. And then it's kind of like emotionally, I've really let it go. And same way with people that could have had things happen when they were young to them that were hurtful and unkind. They kind of do this work within themselves, and that can take a lot of time. But as they keep being focused on, I'm going to wrap my brain around it. That's like high vibe Sagittarius, which is about higher learning and education. And I'm going to look at life from a higher perspective. I'm going to realize there are more immature people, more stubborn people, more egotistical, hurtful, unkind people. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I can only take responsibility for how I conducted myself. The other responsibility of how they conducted themselves is on them. So we can have been distant from some people for a long time, but emotionally can take longer because we're these emotionally complex beings. And the Tower can be, emotionally, you've closed out a cycle, not just distanced yourself, emotionally, you're done. And by doing that, that makes you the Emperor. And um, it's kind of interesting because Libra and Aries are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel. So the fire signs are on the opposite side of the air signs. The earth signs are on the opposite sides of the water signs. And in our air sign energy, we could, a lot of things can make logical, practical sense, seem like good ideas, whatever things we're inspired by. But it's getting balanced again between there are these things of the world in my fire sign nature of self that I'm motivated and inspired by. But if I really want to grow and heal and mature myself and grow to my full potential, I do need to get more balance within myself. And I can't, everything I might want to go do in my more worldly nature, if that is hurtful to me or others, well, is that the kind of person I want to be? I mean, high vibe Leo is feeling proud of yourself. Shadowy Leo is indulging our more immature nature or trying to feel powerful, you know? And high vibe Emperor is, I want to master all four suits of the deck. At times, I could let my heart run my life or my emotions overwhelm me. Could let my mind run my life. I could let my worldly nature, my passionate nature. And having learned these lessons, that all four of them are equally important to me having a balanced life. And down here in the bottom row, we don't have any water sign energies. And some people, male or female, at some point could have decided, it's just too confusing, or I don't really want to do that. I could get hurt. And they just didn't really invest in it much. And they maybe thought, I don't have to. I'm bright. I'm smart. I can just kind of use them superficially. That is shadowy Scorpio. And some people left some people who were kind of emotionally shallow and superficial, where again it felt like they were indulging themselves in the relationship and more about them or the ego or the image or the status. But the high vibe people wanted a deep, meaningful relationship. And some people could have thought, oh no, I'm good. Just superficial's good. Just indulging me in a relationship. But then again, they get another relationship. The people who stay in a relationship with them are other people who are happy they're like that for how it benefits them. And then they're also in a relationship with other people who might be willing to move forward with them in a relationship. Not maybe really because of love, but it works for what they want out of it. And it's kind of seeing the truth. If I want deep, meaningful relationships and I want to be in a relationship with more emotionally mature, stable, balanced people, I need to be that type of person. So some people kind of learn these lessons small steps in their life. And some people, for a really long time, the people who never thought it was important in some way, they could be feeling they're really being left behind because they thought some things weren't important. Other people did put in work and effort to, work on some of those things and get more balance within themselves and be willing to get out of their ego and their defensive nature. And then those people are moving forward with people in relationships they'd maybe like to be in a relationship with. But they didn't think some of those things were important, so they didn't invest time, energy, and effort, you know? But the Emperor, you have really learned, the people who harness high vibe Libra have learned a lot of lessons in life. And some other people haven't. And with the Tower, it can be too that it could kind of surprise you wherever you're at the stage of this, being surprised at the people who don't like you healing and growing and maturing yourself. The people that you thought would be happy that you were are the people who don't like it because they maybe liked it when you were in more codependent energy with them or an imbalanced relationship with them. And then you could be surprised at the people who are more supportive and encouraging of you that, you know, and because just like us, sometimes we're not seeing people clearly. Some of the people we aligned with and hung out with were people because of some reason and some lesson we had to learn, um, or some commonalities that we had that we were working through. If we kind of worked through those and they didn't, well, then they're not the people who are maybe going to be happy for us, some of them. And then other people who never maybe had that issue or had to work through that issue could have been sitting here saying, gee, I wish that person would work with me, but no, they're in a relationship with that person. And then you get out of it and they're like, oh, yay. Now I get to be in a friendship relationship. And I think we also, when we get out of some things, could realize, wow, I think there were some people in my life that would have been a more loving, nurturing person in my life, but that's not where I was at. And those people kind of moved on ahead of me. And again, I think high vibe people, they don't stay in their ego. They're willing to admit I had lessons to learn, I made mistakes, and I did learn those lessons. And now I'm moving forward in life differently. And again, as you move forward, you could meet some people who you think are on the same page, and then you find out those people really aren't on that page, or they've moved on with other people. But it's like, oh well. The people who I do think have good traits and qualities and characteristics, I'll look for other people in the world. You'll be a good role model and example. And the people who I find out aren't, it's like, okay, um, but I'm not going to let it stop me from believing in my dreams. I'm going to keep believing, kind of like the divine has a plan for my life. And I'm going to keep walking my talk and living my truth. What's coming up for some people? But as some of you are growing and maturing yourself, kind of really looking like a boss some way in the world, it could be a shock to some people that they didn't know they weren't seeing you clearly. And some of those people didn't get in relationship or stay in relationship with you because they could have thought you were more immature or more codependent, or because of different people or things you might have done in your past or people you were in relationship with. And now they didn't work with you, and now you've really bossed up. And then some of them are like, shit, I should have been in a relationship with them. What's coming up for the shadowy people they don't see coming? The World card. Why? Because of the Death card. So in shadow, the Death card is that they're kind of more unwilling to look at life from a higher perspective, unwilling to have hope and faith and belief in themselves, in others, in love. Could be intimidating or controlling, could be like a private detective in a relationship, do things that are kind of deceptive and manipulative, just living more from their mind than their heart. Scorpio is emotional water sign energy. Instead of listening to their intuition and having some hope and faith and belief in people, they don't. And because of that, and because of kind of whatever of these shadowy ways of being that they could have about them, of all the different ones we talked about, there's going to be people in their life that are going to end a relationship with them. So the world can talk about a cycle closing, the death card can talk about a cycle closing. And because these people weren't willing to heal or be more just and fair or speak their truth or stand up for what was just and fair, other people, some people in their life are going to listen to their intuition and move on from them. And then there's going to be other people who are going to come into their life, or some of the people that are already in their life. Those people are going to be happy that they haven't healed, that they don't look at life from a higher perspective, because they also live their life like that. And they didn't want them to heal and grow and mature themselves. And that's why some people don't realize that some of the people, if they don't listen to their own intuition and kind of stand up for themselves, again, they're shadowy. I view Libra as the King of Swords energy, but a shadowy King of Swords can be an aspect of ourself, like in our own head, our thoughts. That is our more self-protective, defensive nature. You can't let your inner child out there to go play in the world. You can't let your more hopeful, believing nature go out in the world. You get hurt. So then their more shadowy King of Swords Libra nature runs their life. Their more authentic nature looks out through the eyeballs, but isn't in the driver's seat of their life. Their more shadowy, false, egoic natures in the driver's seat of their life. And other people, some people kind of work through that energy within themselves and realize how their self-protective, more defensive nature is ruining their life, and those people get out of it and they go get in relationships with people, set themselves free. The Tower card. And they could be shocked at the people who do free themselves from things that manipulate them, because they don't. So they think, well, if I'm so smart and these things in the world or these people in my life or my fear or my ego or my codependency really manipulate me, I bet it'll manipulate you too. And then that's why they can be more deceptive and manipulative in a relationship, because they think you won't free yourself from those things because they have things within them and people in their life that do that to them, and they don't free themselves from it. So they can be shocked when they see the people who do. It's like, well, I can't believe, and that can make them kind of question themselves, like, wow, I never thought that person, and then they kind of wonder, how'd you do it? And they just don't get it. They sit here saying, I don't get it. This kind of stops them from getting it. And part of it is they'd have to be willing to reflect on the truth. The world in high vibe is about seeing the truth of what needs to end emotionally. But they don't want to put an end to either their self protective nature or their emotionally shallow, superficial nature, their worldly nature. emotionally detached from some people in their life that manipulate them. So they just decide they'll keep going the way they have, and they'll probably have some more high vibe people leave their life, and they'll hide the truth about why that person left, try to confuse people about the truth, show that they're sad that relationship end, maybe try to confuse people about the truth of who those people are. Oh, they weren't the just, fair, loving person that you thought they were. But those people were trying to offer them love and encouragement for them to free themselves. But they don't want people to know that they maybe, tried to manipulate them, tried to control them, did some immature things, were kind of deceptive, manipulative, living more from their mind than their heart. Of course, they don't want people to know that, because the only thing they do really have to offer people is these things of the world, because they don't really do love. And so their image and their status of the Aquarius energy is very important to them. So whatever it takes, and that's what some high vibe people don't know, the very people you are putting in a lot of work and effort into, some people are shocked and will be shocked that the very people that they put in a lot of work and effort trying to be loving and encouraging had all this inner conflict about leaving. When you leave, that person is going to lie about you and try to confuse people about the truth of who you are. They don't want to know people to know that you healed and grew and matured yourself, that you look at life from a higher perspective, and you're not willing to stay in a relationship with them more for the ego or the image or the status. And that'll be a shock, and that will be hurtful. But it's just one more thing of showing you that they're not who you thought they were. And in a more shadowy Five of Swords that they hold, can be they want to win at all costs. And that could also be how they view life. If a relationship ends, it can't be that we both had different dreams, we both had different things that we wanted to go towards. No, one person is the bad person. That's like shadowy Scorpio too. It's either black and white. There is no gray. And it's not going to be them. So it's going to be you. And that could really be shocking, but that whole experience really is what makes you dig deep into the foundational truth of who you are. And if you're going to let people who you loved, who are hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair and lying and intimidating and controlling and not wanting to tell the truth about it and throw you under the bus, yeah, you've got to dig deep. But all of that really made you grow into being someone that otherwise maybe you wouldn't have grown into without that kind of adversity in your life. And you move on. You go to the next phase of life. You completed that level of the video game of life. And while you're free to go on to the next stage of life, more emotionally grown, matured, stable, inspired within yourself, all of this forced you to work through some of those issues of your past and heartbreak. While you're off going on a new adventure, these people are going to go look for someone else to try to manipulate. And the pattern will probably repeat until that person sees the truth that some of these people are never going to change, and those people end the relationship with them. And the people who stay are maybe people who also don't look at life from a higher perspective, also like to live more from their mind than their heart, also are more about having a certain status or image in the world or indulging in things to feel better, and really aren't emotionally connected in with the energy of love. And it could be shocking to people in the world as they kind of see things play out. Who are the people who really seem to be who they say they are and really kind of bossed up in the world? And who are the people who seem to have sabotaged themselves, thinking it was going to work out in their favor? But that's what they don't get, is that they could think they can control things and things will go in their favor, maybe because they have a certain status or image. There is no higher powers that work in the world, but there are. And the truth eventually comes out. And we've read enough newspaper articles about people who thought they could get away with all sorts of shit in the world, and eventually the truth comes out. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.